This is way worse than we thought. Terry Rozier remains on this Miami Heat roster, and it looks like there is nowhere the Miami Heat can send him. I'm here to break down the newest updates surrounding Terry Rozier and his trade market this offseason, and whether or not he will be a part of this Miami Heat team by the time next regular season begins. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest, but first, please do remember to scroll down and click that subscribe button, as nearly 85% of you guys watching this video are not currently subscribed to the channel. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys tremendously. But now let's get to it and break down, where does Miami go from here? Now, this offseason up to this point in the year, and now it's only July 11th, we are far from it being over. But up to this point, it seems like the Miami Heat have made all the major moves they are going to make outside of Terry Rozier. They went out and acquired Norman Powell. They went out and had a great draft, as their newest draftee is going off in the first quarter in his first Summer League game. We'll break down that on the next episode of Heat Digest, as it looks like this guy is going to be an absolute phenom for this Heat team from the day he starts until the day he decides to hang it up for this Miami Heat organization. But again, another conversation for another day. Let's focus on Terry Rozier, as he has been a talking point for the last 8 months for this Miami Heat organization and anyone surrounding this Heat organization. And the reason being is because he has been horrible, and I mean absolutely horrible. So bad that they were conducting investigations of whether or not Terry Rozier was throwing basketball games due to gambling reasons. Now, obviously, it seems like that has gone away and that is non-existent anymore, and he is in the clear, and he was not actually gambling on himself or games that he was involved in. But surely he was not playing well all of last season, and since he was traded for 2 seasons ago during that regular season at the trade deadline, Terry Rozier has simply not worked out in Miami. Now, if you look throughout his career, he's been a good, if not a great piece for a lot of different teams. But in Miami, since coming from the Charlotte Hornets organization, I guess the moment has simply been too big. He has not fit in Miami with the players that have been around him. But overall, there has been very, very small windows of moments where Rozier has looked good and competent on the basketball floor for this Miami Heat organization. But for the vast majority of reps that we have seen from Terry Rozier in a Miami Heat jersey, it has simply not worked. And because of that, it looks like the Heat are going to look to move him. It's very surprising to me that he has not been traded yet up to this point in the offseason. But really, it's surprising because he's still a part of this team, but it's not surprising because nobody wants Terry Rozier. No one wants to take a chance on Terry Rozier, whether or not it is because he was connected to a gambling speculation problem in the past, in the last 8 to 10 months, or it's because of the lack of production they have seen over the last 2 years in his tenure in Miami. I should really say a year and a half, as he was traded for at the trade deadline 2 seasons ago. Overall, he's going on to the final year of his contract before he would become an unrestricted free agent. So whoever would go out and acquire Terry Rozier via trade would either have to extend him once he got in-house, or they would have a 1-year rental of Terry Rozier where he could really go out there, try to prove himself, and earn another contract either to that new team or going into that free agency period where, again, he will be a part of a vastly large group of players who are on the open market looking to be acquired by championship level contenders, looking to be paid for their goods. Now, Rozier will be rewarded $26 million in this final year of his contract before he becomes that unrestricted free agent. And based off these brand new reports from Bobby Marks, it doesn't seem like the Miami Heat are going to have an ability to trade him, as well as this report from Evan Siddery. We'll start with this, as he goes on to say that the Miami Heat have been actively looking across the trade market to move Terry Rozier, but because of the lack of really any trade market, they can't move him. And because it mainly comes to the idea that Terry Rozier is going to be owed $26 million, and no one really wants to take on Rozier for that price. And because of that, the trade market is basically non-existent for this young point guard that had the potential to be an all-star level guard earlier in his career, whether it was with Boston or the Charlotte Hornets. Now, You move on to those quotes from Bobby Marks, and really the idea that he won't be moved. He gives off the idea that the Miami Heat are done in the trade market and really the offseason in general, as they went out and got Norman Powell. They moved Duncan Robinson, and now it seems like with the complementary pieces they've gone out and acquired, it doesn't look like they're going to be making any drastic moves going forward. Now, I will say, if Terry Rozier is moved for 1 or 2, possibly even 3 draft picks. And I'm not looking for first rounders here. There's no way that Rozier would demand that level of value. But if Miami can go out and move him for a second or a third round draft pick later down the line in 2027, 2028, we could possibly see Terry Rozier end up in a different location outside of Miami, allowing Miami to not only to open up another roster spot, but possibly even a more cap room for this Miami Heat organization going into this season as well as into the trade deadline in the regular season coming up. I think it'd be very interesting. Again, the exact quote from Bobby Marks, we're citing Heat Culture on Twitter as he was on this podcast that I will tag down below because I don't exactly know how to read it because the font is extremely small on my end, so I apologize. But Heat Culture goes on to say, Bobby Marks says he's not expecting another big move from Miami this offseason after Norman Powell trade. Quote, I like the move. It was a low-risk move as far as what they did. I'm not anticipating a huge move as for what's next with this roster. That's the end of the quote from Bobby Marks. And again, the idea that Terry Rozier being moved, not being a massive trade idea, is totally acceptable based off of what we have seen statistically from Terry Rozier, as well as when it comes down to the games and minutes played. In the moments in which he finds himself on the court, there's no way to really frame this as if Terry Rozier was to be moved, it would require a lot back in return because simply he has not went out there and demanded and put out the idea that he is going to require so much of a return because of the production and the lack thereof that we have witnessed over the last year and a half in some change. I'm hoping that Miami does end up moving this young man. And the reason being is not because of the gambling speculation that we witnessed. It's not because he's owed $26 million, even though those two factors are massive contributors to also being a part of why I would like to see him moved. They are not the main factors. The biggest reason is because of the other able guards the Miami Heat have on this roster that I would love to see get playing time over someone like Terry Rozier. Players like Pelle Larsons, players like the new draft pick in Kasparis, other players like Devion Mitchell. Tyler Hero obviously is going to maintain that starting role. These guys I would love to see in the starting guard position over players like Terry Rozier because not only are they younger, but they also hold so much upside, and it's a fresh slate. It's nothing that where we know what we've seen from Rozier, and it's really hoping to get the bare minimum from him. These guys are young. They are they are loaded with potential and huge upside. If they can get some more reps and not have to share minutes with someone like Terry Rozier, who could go out there and look a lot like he did last year for this Miami Heat organization, I think it'd be a lot cleaner. I think it'd be a lot better for this team overall, and especially for the organization, if Terry Rozier were to be moved. And again, if it's just for a draft pick, a complimentary piece later down the line, it would not be a major issue. Again, you're getting something in return for someone who is an expiring good who's going to go into free agency next season if you don't decide to move him now. You're going to eat that $26 million, have to pay him this up and coming regular season, and once next offseason comes, he will walk to free agency because bearing an all-star MVP level performance this year, Miami's not going to look to re-sign him for anything relatively close to what he's currently getting paid at that over $25.5 million number. Again, let me know down below what your overall thoughts and opinions are on Rozier possibly being traded, and if you think it would be a good decision for this Miami Heat organization going forward to move him, or if you'd like to see him remain in Miami. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.